You are about to discover why the most effective financial strategy for a billionaire is to never pay back their loans. I understand how counterintuitive that sounds. We are raised to avoid debt. Financial advisors consistently warn us to clear our credit cards, and figures like Dave Ramsey have built empires on the premise that debt is the enemy. For the average person, that advice is sound. However, there is a completely different set of rules for the ultra-wealthy, and these rules fundamentally redefine how money works. The world's richest individuals live their entire lives using borrowed capital. They secure loans for millions, sometimes billions of dollars, and they rarely pay them off. This isn't because they lack the funds. It is because avoiding repayment is a superior financial strategy. It provides massive tax advantages, accelerates wealth accumulation, and establishes a system that benefits their families for generations. This strategy is known as buy, borrow, die. It has been a cornerstone of wealthy families for over a century. It is legal, straightforward, and entirely inaccessible to the general public because the financial system is designed to keep you paying, not to help you build lasting wealth. In this video, I will walk you through exactly how this works, step by step. Let's start by correcting a common misconception. Debt itself is not the problem. The problem is how you use it. The system is rigged from the start based on one factor: what you already own. For most people, debt is a necessity. You need a car for work, you lack the cash, so you secure a loan at, say, 6% interest. Every month, a portion of your payment covers interest, while the rest pays down the principal. The problem is that your car depreciates in value the moment you drive it off the lot. 3 years later, it may be worth $9,000, yet you are still paying interest on the original $15,000 debt. You are paying the bank for an asset that is losing value every single day. That is a losing trade from the start. It gets worse when you consider how you pay for that loan. You work for a paycheck, but the government takes its share in income tax before you even see the money. If you are in the 24% tax bracket, nearly a quarter of every dollar you earn vanishes. You use what remains to pay the bank, which then charges you interest on top of it. You are getting hit twice, first by the government's income tax, then by the bank's loan interest, all while the asset you purchased loses value. This is the trap most people occupy without realizing it. They borrow money to buy depreciating assets and pay off those loans with already taxed income. It is a treadmill designed to keep you working and paying, never actually getting ahead. Now, consider how the wealthy play by entirely different rules. Imagine you own $10 million in assets, such as stocks, real estate, or business interests. You need $500,000 for your annual living expenses. You have two options. Option 1, you sell some stocks. The IRS views this as a capital gain, meaning you pay taxes on the profit. If your tax rate is 20%, you would have to sell over $600,000 in assets just to walk away with $500,000, handing over $100,000 to the government. Furthermore, you no longer own those shares, meaning you forfeit all future growth on that capital. You gave up ownership and paid a hefty tax bill to access your own money. Option 2, you borrow $500,000 using your $10 million in assets as collateral. You go to a private bank, show them your balance sheet of stable, appreciating assets, and they offer you a loan at, for example, 3% interest. The $500,000 is wired to your account, and you haven't sold a single share. You haven't triggered a capital gains tax because the IRS does not classify borrowed money as taxable income. Your only obligation is the annual interest payment of $15,000. Meanwhile, your $10 million continues to work for you. If the market grows by 5% that year, your assets generate $500,000 in growth. You borrowed $500,000, your assets grew by $500,000, and you only paid $15,000 in interest. You are ahead by $485,000, all without paying a dime in capital gains tax. This is the foundation of buy, borrow, die. Step 1 is buying the right assets. Banks will not lend millions against things like watches or cars. They require assets that are stable, easy to value, appreciate over time, and are liquid, such as publicly traded stocks, high-quality real estate, or profitable businesses. These assets represent wealth that a bank can trust and measure. Crucially, you do not borrow against all of it. If you own $50 million in assets, you might borrow $5 or $10 million. This low loan-to-value ratio is the secret. It protects the bank, which is why they offer such favorable terms: low interest rates, no mandatory principal payments, and long loan terms.
The bank isn't betting on your future income. They're betting on your balance sheet, which is a much safer bet. Step 2 is borrowing in a way that avoids repayment. Because you're borrowing against assets, you're often only required to pay interest. That $10 million loan hits your account tax-free, and you only owe $300,000 in annual interest. Fast forward 10 years, and you have paid $3 million in interest, but the original $10 million debt remains. When the loan matures, you don't pay it back, you refinance. You take out a new loan to cover the old one, or you expand the loan if your assets have grown. This cycle continues indefinitely. You never trigger a taxable event, your assets continue to compound, and inflation effectively reduces the burden of your interest payments over time. Step 3 is the part that completes the cycle. You die. There is a specific feature in the U.S. tax code called a step-up in basis. If you bought stock for $1 million 50 years ago and it is worth $20 million today, selling it while alive would trigger a massive capital gains tax. However, if you die holding that stock, the IRS resets the cost basis to the value at the time of your death, $20 million. Your heirs inherit the stock at that $20 million value. If they sell it immediately, they pay zero capital gains tax because there is no profit. The $19 million in accumulated gains is essentially erased. Your heirs then use the inheritance to pay off the original $10 million loan, and they still have $10 million left over. The cycle then repeats. This is how generational wealth is preserved. It is not about a massive salary. It is about owning assets, borrowing against them to avoid taxes, and passing everything down with a clean slate. This strategy isn't a secret, but it is unavailable to those who don't already have significant assets. You need a solid foundation of wealth before a bank will offer these terms. Furthermore, there is a psychological barrier. Most people are conditioned to fear debt and strive to be debt-free, while the wealthy view debt as a tool. While I am not a financial advisor, and you should never attempt this without the proper capital, understanding this system reveals the true blueprint of how the wealthiest people on earth operate.